You enjoying anything? Nothing ever at all. But hopefully you'll enjoy this match. Oxygen versus Space Station. We'll start off on Theme Park. SSG on defense first. They're going to ban Echo, is now removed from play. Worth mentioning that Space Station did not want Echo removed. There was no gentleman's agreement from their very last matchup. So, what?
Well, I'm just woeing at the fact that they didn't have a gentleman's agreement.
Oh, I was like, wow, are you really surprised by the Maverick ban? But I guess that's not the case. No. Anyway, now Space Station they're not allowed to. You're not allowed to play the Echo at all, period. No Echo.
Yeah.
So operator bans on defense have been Wamai and Maestro an awful lot. We'll see if that holds up. First two operator bans that want to attack Michael. Maverick and Jackal.
Maverick and Jackal are both sensible bans here on Theme Park. Again, this is a map, as Parker mentioned earlier, that we don't see played very often. But Jackal, of course, as operators go, is one of those operators that's going to make roaming very difficult. Maverick can go ahead and bypass all of your anti-hard breach. And Bandit will be banned as such by Oxygen. Because of the Maverick ban, they want to limit the anti-hard breach that is in play. The final ban here on defense, and that's just to make clearing out all those things, whether they be shields, Malusi, Evil Eyes, doesn't matter. Everything that needs an explosive device to destroy, it'll be easier now that the Wamai is banned. Just one more layer of the defense peeled back. So with these bans completed, they all make sense on Theme Park, in my opinion. Nothing crazy going on here. We'll go ahead and get into the action phase, or I guess technically the prep phase before we start the action phase. I wonder if that Montaigne's going to be 6-picked.
I don't suspect we're going to see Vert stay on a Montaigne, but I mean, maybe he is a wild, wild man, Michael. There you go. It's gone. Yeah. Ash, instead, how right you are.
Yeah, I think usually when a Montaigne is brought, he's either 6-picked into or 6-picked off, because you force the enemy to think about the Montaigne if you 6-pick off. And obviously, with a Montaigne in play, SSG will set up their utility slightly differently. They might even set up their positioning differently. And that's something that Oxygen is trying to force out with the 6-pick off. If they were 6-picking into the Montaigne, it'd be because they don't want SSG to set up their utility to counter a Montaigne. So it's, it's just trying to keep your own opponent on their toes with your 6-pick, and I respect that from Oxygen. In this round, it's going to be a throne defense. Now, typically in throne, I'm sure a lot of you guys who play ranked are used to seeing all 5 members of the defense anchor on the site, maybe light roaming going on. At this level, SSG is going to commit not only players to roam above, but also a whole lot of setup and utility. You got mute jammers up here. You're going to have a vigil. So droning is going to not necessarily be the perfect device to find your opponent. You're going to have to come up with some more face checky sorts of solutions. And the sheer manpower from investment upstairs from SSG is also going to be a major consideration here for Oxygen as they start their attack from Cash Balcony.
Did they just use a Hibana X Kairos to open up that hatch?
That was weird. They had a sledge.
You have a sledge. And the sledge almost dies, by the way. So Fox A hot drops and then takes an engagement right off the rip.
Huh.
He obviously lost a little bit of HP as it was Thinking Nade versus him in a 1v1. Thinking Nade, of course, holed up inside of Initiation. He's got to rotate through bunk that he's going to use. And another there as well that'll lead on over toward the train portion of it. Or whatever people refer to it as these days.
Yeah. This has been a pretty efficient force back here by Oxygen. The only damage being done is to Fox, as you said, when he was dropping. So overall, SSG is not stressing that. But yeah, life moves on, I guess. A little bit of a pause here. You can see Thinking Nade's got the drop open right next to him. So as soon as he wants to, he just moves a little bit behind him, and he'll be able to fall back. He doesn't need to die up here. Rampy uses the staircase, and at around the 90-second mark, SSG falls back. It's more like the 80-second mark, really. But they'll fall back as planned, and Oxygen will put themselves in control of the top floor.
Plenty of ways for them to be able to move around this map, and obviously SSG have figured that one out. And they've wasted a fair bit of time with a minute to go, but you can see that Oxygen are not too far off of being able to pull something off on this thrown bomb site. Oxygen upstairs with the full control of that second floor, but they're going to need to translate that towards the first. Canadian waiting inside of Split for somebody to push on up. Slash is over inside of maintenance as Ace does what Ace does best. Vertical picks off Rampy. That was the Vigil spotted, and Slash looks the wrong way as Fultz goes across the wall. Say that 5 times fast. 30 seconds, both teams have lost one. Rampy might not be the most pivotal operator, but Slash was mighty important. It does appear that that maintenance wall is opened up, though. Now Canadian has burst free from his spot on Split. He'll push on up. He might get caught inside a main lobby if he doesn't look the right way. Directly to his left, he'll spot one. No, he doesn't see him. My goodness, Canadian, a bit of a miss on that site. Laxing gets the kill and then immediately goes to work on the wall inside of Barrels. Missed opportunity on the X-Kairos. He'll put some pressure onto Fultz. Inside of the wall, Fultz pulverized by Foxay, breaking on into the back of Throne Room. And some damage done onto Foxay as he'll have to watch as the plant goes down from Bio. SSG trails a 2v4 with Diffuser going down. Lax is trapped, trying to do something, thinking they'd gun down as he gets one, leaving it all into the hands of Bosco. 2v2 as it gets ever closer. But that 2v2 is a real 2v1 with Thinking Nate on the ground. Trying to climb away, Bosco will have to go for a long-range pick. Both Biologic and Laxing at full HP. Diffuser at the 30-second mark. Bosco will hold this angle and take a deep breath to see if Thinking Nate will be able to get to him. And just as he goes to get picked up, it's a push from OXG. They take the fight and they win it. Oxygen managed to take round number 1.
My God, that should have been an SSG round. So many major movements there. The fact that Troy, or Canadian rather, missed out on Laxing inside of the main lobby, ended up dying to him. That prevented the flank attempt from SSG. They were trying to establish dominance vertically to prevent any kind of strangulation on the site. That would have been huge had SSG been able to pull that off, but Canadian gets cut off in the transition. Further, Fultz playing right next to the breach, somehow losing his fight with the sledge as Foxay pushed in through that breach. Oxygen now have control not only above and are able to pressure the defenders who are playing over on the soft side of Throne. That's your Forge side of Throne, I guess you could say. But also, they have control of the Throne itself. That's massive. Oxygen, a beautiful execution there, but really just 2 crucial prongs of the defense from SSG falling by the wayside, thanks to Oxygen winning really important gunfights. I'm just surprised, to be honest, that everything went Oxygen's way in the dying seconds of that round. I think Veli was talking about how that commonly happens with Oxygen during the analyst segment, actually.
I mean, they do play a bit of a weird style. We talk about this often. Laxing is usually so far disconnected from the push, and I mean, he certainly was in that instance as well. He was all on his own inside a main lobby. He took out the Barrels wall. It was very lucky for him that Canadian did not have his eyes in his head, because Laxing was able to pick up that kill, and Canadian would have been able to go up top and watch the openings that had been created much earlier in the round. Remember that bit of action that we saw taking place in Initiation? Well, a lot of that floor had been opened up by Foxay. Because of the numbers being what they were, Canadian very easily could have retaken and held off a plant. That would have been obviously a good read from him. So it's lucky that Laxing won that engagement and then went into Barrels and did his best, even though he almost missed the opportunity to open up the Barrels walls. And the thing is with a team like Oxygen, there's always that bit of unpredictability because you don't know how impactful Laxing is going to be. Maybe sometimes they're totally impactless kills that look flashy. Other times they might be crucial to swing around.
Well, quick little fun stat for everybody. Throne has been consistently the most played site on this map over the 2 times it's been played in Stage 2 of North America, or rather of specifically the US division. And it actually had, before that round, a 100% success rate for the defense. So, Oxygen are now the first team in this stage in the US division to win attacking Throne. Huge for them. And it'll give them a nice little, I guess, comfort zone when they get to transition onto the second half. Even if they don't win any further rounds, that's still massive considering the overall 68% defensive win rate in this stage for Theme Park.
So this is a bunks defense, by the way, upstairs, and Oxygen are going to take the same portion of the map that they'd taken the first time around, which is the east side, commonly referred to as Cache. The second bomb site that a lot of teams use on the second floor is Initiation. and Office, which is where we just saw the Ace of Slash playing as he goes to open up one of the walls. SSG's stylistic change is going to result in a clash being played to try and waste time and utility, and for Oxygen, it'll mean that they're going to need to disrupt the clash as best as they can. Zofia is usually a great operator for that, but she's not present in this OXG lineup. Neither is the Hibana now, though, as Laxing, who was quite critical to that previous round, gets taken out, and SSG gets opening pick. Refragged, though, from Slash, whose teammate is almost able to pick away at the clash, but no, nothing there. Catching the smoke of Bosco as Slash is perfectly poised to do this right by Cafe, and he'll watch to see if somebody heads up the main stairs. 30 seconds remaining, and Slash will retrieve the diffuser. They'll need to pull it off. With a clash in play and 2 C4s, this could be a particular challenge. Mira is also up, so you're going to rely on Bosco and Rampy, who are riding the bench to give you pings and calls. Who's going to be able to come to the rescue? Well, Thinking Aid gets one, and then Fultz jumps into the fun. He takes out Fox A, and Slash gone as well. Vertical, one of his own, and OXG finds themselves in a 2v2, but they have the objective to play off of, and that is going to be particularly daunting. They grab the diffuser. Vertical snatches Fultz. Canadian from below will need to stop this plant in its tracks. He's going to look for a read here. There it goes, and it should be good. It is. SSG take round number 2 in explosive fashion.
Clearly a Valkyrie cam somewhere inside of daycare. And, well, Oxygen did not have any chance of winning that with the timer being where it was. Odd positioning for SSG through that round. It seemed as if Oxygen had full control, and now we've seen 2 rounds in a row where the victor is the team that you least suspect to be the actual winner. It is what it is. Well played to Canadian for staying alive downstairs. That's exactly what you got to do in those situations. Instead of trying to force himself back up, he just plays the objective. Oxygen, I'm really impressed by their ability to play the crossfire between the initiation breach and top yellow stairs. That is crucial. And so many SSG members were felled in that engagement. Should have carried forward to a win, but SSG was just smarter in that round. Or Troy, I guess, specifically.
I did like the way that we saw OXG spread themselves out, you know, pressing from Cafe, pressing from inside of Office, pressing from the top of Arcade stairs. They had pretty good coverage, and there weren't really many opportunities where we could have seen SSG strike back. But I mean, SSG retook quite gracefully, and because of the coordination at the end, they were able to stop the plant in its tracks. Mira had a nitro cell as well, but Fultz wasn't able to pull it out at the right time, so that could have potentially spelt trouble for the diffuse plant going on down inside of the objective. Ultimately, both teams through 2 rounds have shown themselves to be quite good at what they want to do. The question is going to be more about site rotation than anything. Of course, that will change once the teams swap sides, and we'll see how formidable SSG can be on attack or how resolute Oxygen can be on defense.
As mentioned earlier, that one round that Oxygen got on attack is really big because it wasn't just an attacking round, it was a thrown attacking round on top of all that. And since Theme Park is such a strongly defender-sided map, I think it currently right now is up there. It's not the most defender-sided map, but it's number 3 technically behind Clubhouse and Oregon right now in Stage 2. But that's off of a limited sample size. If you take all of the stats from Stage 1 and Stage 2, I think it'd be more closer to like top 2. Either way, every round you win on attack is huge. That's the main point. Oxygen have started off really well so far. And that last round, despite having lost it, was still very close. So this bodes well for Oxygen's overall chances on this map. And I think it thoroughly explains why Oxygen decided to pick Theme Park as map number 1.
Of course, trying to break that SSG undefeated streak. Both times, maybe against worse opponents, but Oxygen has very clearly shown that they're comfortable here. As I mentioned before, it was Tempo Storm and DG that they defeated both times, both of them by the same scoreline, 7-4. They're going to battle from behind on round number 3 as 90 seconds are eclipsed, and, well, Fox A has been removed from this particular round by Canadian, who is proving himself quite effective on this support role, this flex role, whatever you want to call it, or however he plays it. Valkyrie can very much be a fragging operator, but it doesn't seem to be in the strat book for SSG to use her that way, especially not with Canadians' well-noted troubles being able to aim on some occasion. And also see on some occasions, by the way, if we go back to round number 1.
Not a lot of time left for Oxygen. Couple that with the pick that Fox A, or well, rather Canadian got onto Fox A. Speak of the devil, and he shall die, apparently, as Canadian is felled by Laxing through the wall, maybe? Either way, a 4v4 now. Beautiful stuff there for Oxygen. C4 doing a lot of damage to Oxygen, who are trying to set up above the bomb site, use this vertical presence to put pressure onto the anchors and force them into uncomfortable positions, or potentially get a pick onto all of these players in sight. None of that happening just yet, but open up above bathroom. Ooh, just barely missing out on Bosco, who is in bathroom. Slash is the one to get him, though. From the window? No, yeah, he was on the window. He'll walk in and get Rampy as well, who's attempting to retake bathroom. Now it's all on Fultz and Thinking Nade, 2v4, but the time is really becoming a major factor here for the attack. Big kill there for Fultz. He puts his back to the window, though, and is taken out by Biologic. Thinking Nade the last one, and Laxing gets the refrag as Bio dies. Oxygen will take their second attacking round, and that puts them in a great spot overall for Theme Park.
Once again, Laxing doing his own thing, somewhat removed from the push that's happening inside of bathrooms over by the drug bundles, inside of the drug portion of the bomb site. I don't know if we're allowed to say that word.
They haven't said no, so I
don't know. Valley said the F word earlier, so whatever. There are no rules. Anyway. There are no rules. We can just say whatever we want at this point. It's Wild West.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Oh, I guess you can say that one.
Yeah.
Oxygen have looked much more confident on attacking on this map than they have on a variety of maps against a variety of teams. Obviously, it's hard to really quantify their matchup against Tempo Storm just a couple days ago, but I've been impressed from what we've seen of Oxygen. And Slash in particular, the man who is a part of our poll question. The question, need I remind everybody here, that you can find on Twitter at R6 Esports NA. Every time I plug the Twitter, by the way, I get paid $10. I don't know what your deal is, but that's my deal. I just want to let you know.
I don't have a deal for that. Am I missing out here?
Leaving money on the table. Anyway. Maybe that's why you got nominated and I didn't.
Because I don't plug the official Twitter.
Yeah, because you're not shilling. You're not shilling
you
for
wait,
Twitter.
Parker.
I got the Bird website.
I got some shilling ready for today. Let's go.
Oh.
You guys excited for some shilling? Because there'll be some shilling between this and the next map.
5 seconds to go.
Slash is one of the people involved in our question. So is Canadian, and they're actually doing quite well. The question was regarding who would be able to get more plants down. Now, I feel like just on Monday we did a poll question about who would frag more, and then, well, neither of those players in their respective teams were the stars. They played support-oriented roles, and now it's happening again, where Slash and Canadian might not be the best at getting the diffuser planted, but they are certainly cleaning up on the scoreboard more so than usual. And Slash, in particular, is not used to having the greatest amount of strength here. There's a run out from Canadian. He sees one, goes for it. He could have gotten a second, but he didn't look behind him. There was another member of OXG on rappel, and that was Slash. That could have been 2 for the price of 1 from Canadian, and Slash must be relieved to know how close he came to certain death. But still, that run out from Canadian not only will net him his 4th kill, but also remove Biologic and the Thatcher and all that comes with those EMPs for the remainder of this round.
Now, I got to say, that's really smart from Canadian. Runouts are usually punished pretty harshly at this level of play, but if your opponent is not prepared for it, keep doing it. Just keep running out until eventually it backfires on you. Canadian has leveraged that run out now for 2 opening frags, one round after another, and well, that's massive. So if he can keep doing that, props to him. He'll also take out Slash, who has been one of the top performers for Oxygen so far through this map. So it's a good round for Canadian overall. Not over just yet, but it's looking pretty dire as we hit the half-round mark. Oxygen still hasn't gotten full control of the top floor, and it doesn't seem like they even will, as Thinking Nade eliminates Vertical. Fox and Laxing, the last 2 members on the attack, and Fox at least will get Thinking Nade, so no flawless round for SSG, but that seems to be just about it, as the remaining defenders have fallen back to the bomb site and will play this smart and safe.
Frankly, kind of surprised that Thinking Nade looked the wrong way there. He could have just simply waited with the shotgun at the doorway, but I guess his patience wouldn't have been rewarded. Or I guess in that case, it would have been rewarded, but he was a little too impatient. Being recalled to the bomb site, which is downstairs, by the way, for those that aren't paying attention. And here you have what is going to be a meager attempt at an execute, or at least is shaping up to be that way, as it's Laxing and Foxay working jointly together above the two different members of OXG, looking to try to pull something off. Back to the throne room, SSG has gone, as they have not had great success on this bottom floor whatsoever. They've surrendered both defenses on this floor to their opponents. Out comes a frag grenade, down it will go. Does not connect with anybody. Nobody from Spacestation has lost a single point of HP. That is remaining at least. And now the two members of OXG appear to be splitting up. One will come head to head, or no, they're actually in tow with one another. And that early fire from Canadian will give his position away. He loses the fight. It's even footing. Bosco changes it around, and no way for Foxay or Laxing to be able to win this one. Laxing was last man standing. He can't even get close to the bomb site. And SSG equalizes. They'll pick up their second round to match OXG's total.
Solid there for SSG. They need to continue that streak. To be honest, they need to turn that into much, much more. 4-2 is a win. Technically, winning a half is if you get more than the opponent. Duh. And since there's 6 rounds in each half, 4-2 is winning your half. However, on a significantly defender-sided map such as Theme Park, 4-2 is the expected scoreline for the defense. So what we need to see here from SSG, if they want to be especially comfortable transitioning to the second half, is a 4-2. Currently, 2-2. Again, that's a lot of breathing room for Oxygen as it stands. Now, that last round mostly comes down to Canadian and SSG as a whole upstairs doing so much work, not only delaying, but actually straight up killing the roam clear on that top floor. After those frags came out, there was little to no chance of Oxygen making the bounce back, even though they did manage to get faults in initiation. So, that's a really simple, short story there. SSG, great roam on the top floor. I love the way that they held their ground a little bit firmly, a little bit more firmly than we've seen in past rounds. Now,
the other thing too, Michael, is that they lost bio right away. You have to completely change up how you're going to take either the barrels or maintenance walls. That could be kited, that could be muted. In this case, they were muted, as Thinking Nade was playing that operator. Which is why we saw such an investment in that top floor, because if you're bringing in IQ, you're not only going to go gadget hunting for the Valkyrie cameras, as Canadian and the rest of SSG have been able to punish you so effectively based upon those gadgets being in play, but it also means that you're going to need to try to take out those mute jammers. Now, it's going to be tricky to do that because some of the angles that SSG were putting them at, especially down inside of barrels, can't really hit them all that effectively, if at all. But OXG, I think, tried their best, and it was much closer than it needed to be, given the fact that there was that early pick that could have completely doomed OXG's round.
It absolutely could have. And, well, I mean, it did. Are we talking about a different round now?
No, I mean, like, okay, doomed it, meaning that it very easily could have been a much quicker round.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It was a 1v2, and they won it mostly on time. You know, I mean, I don't think Laxing is making it through split alive as IQ on that round, but
it was just too high of a mountain to climb at that point. It would, and that's the cool thing though, Parker. As you mentioned, these have been some pretty close rounds, and if anything, I'm impressed by Oxygen. The fact that even when they're losing rounds, it's not too crazy. So, moving forward, half round mark here for OXG. They start opening up the walls using the Ace and Thatcher. Thatcher's existence is why we've seen so much hard destruction coming out so far in this map, and it's been working out great for Oxygen. Walls now open. One at the top of yellow from office to yellow. The other one from initiation to the B bomb site. With those walls opened, they can start the crossfire. Last time Oxygen was here, they failed to attack this site. The crossfire worked for a lot of kills, actually, and it was looking solid for Oxygen, but in the end, SSG managed to clutch it out, thanks to Canadian C4ing from below. This round, Canadian is inside a cafe, and he'll be denying the push from Yellow Stairs to Cafe Hall, which is going to deny the crossfire that Oxygen leveraged last time they were here. It's going to make pushing into the site much more difficult because Oxygen is less likely to get a whole lot of entry picks. They haven't gotten anything so far. And as we continue to run out of time, it becomes more and more dangerous. Ash Charge used underneath A. Bosco eats a chunk of damage there, but it's answered directly by Canadian, who runs out onto vertical to get a great pick.
Also, I think with 20 seconds left, this wouldn't be the time for Me Too Shill, by the way, just coming back into this. But in a moment. But in a moment. Damage done to Rampy, and now 10 seconds for them to be able to pull this one off. Rampy in the doorway with what little HP he had left takes out Laxing before being felled by Foxay. They're going to need to do something to take care of this clash. They can't play around it forever. 1 second left. No diffuser going down from Slash. He knows he's out of time. SSG manages to hang on to a nail biter of a round. Not really coming down to the wire. Canadian spending about half of it outside. Good for him.
Yeah. I mean, he's been spending most of this map outside. Let's be honest. He keeps running out. He got 2 run out kills that round, maybe. The man knows that he has an opportunity against Oxygen because Oxygen are not paying enough attention to the run outs. Straight up. We've seen at least 4 or 5 deaths on Oxygen's attack thanks to Canadian just being outside the building. And okay. Normally, a run out is a pretty stupid thing at this level because normally it gets shut down. But Canadian has realized there's an opportunity, and he's going to continue to leverage it, again, until it gets shut down. It hasn't yet. Canadian has been rampant, and Oxygen needs to do something to answer that.
By the way, for those of you that have seen some of the skins that are being used, Bosco on the smoke in particular, don't forget to purchase the Rainbow Six Pro League bundles, which directly support Rainbow Six Esports. It's hard to say all the support esport.
Support esport. Support
anyway,
esport.
Your favorite teams.
Support esport.
Because not only do you have the 4 regional skins, by the way, on Twitch, Blitz, Kavera, and Smoke, but you also have the R6 share team skins, of which Spacestation has one. On Ella, Spacestation. On Ella, not running an Ella. How curious.
They're off script, Parker. Someone's going to need to talk to them about this.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
At Sean Duras, at Unit. Get him together. Come on.
We need to play Ella more.
Disgraceful.
Pretty sure the contract said Ella 1 every 3 rounds. Yeah. Okay.
Could you imagine, by the way, how disruptive that would be if you put that into a contract?
if that was an actual
You
thing.
must play our operator.
We got the skin for it. Now you have to bring it every round. That would be terrible.
As we talk about that Canadian playing on Valkyrie, Vitality has a team skin for Valkyrie that you are capable of using, and it looks pretty nice, especially if you like the color yellow. I didn't think he was. It certainly didn't look that way. I can't really tell. It looks like I think he's running default skins on most of his operators now. He threw a cam out on a cafe balcony. Now, if you look at what bomb site it is, this is going to be decent intel, especially if it can look into cafe itself. This is a lab defense downstairs, as SSG have gone perfect on bunk upstairs, and they don't seem too intent on going to either initiation or office. Well, I guess technically both, because it's one bomb site.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I know what you meant.
You know what I meant.
And yes.
See, you knew what I meant, and that's why you are one of the Esports Awards nominees for... because if you didn't know what I meant, then you wouldn't have been nominated.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then the Esports committee would have said, he's not good enough.
Oh, man.
It's just the way it works, Michael. I hate to break it to you.
Okay. Now, thank you for explaining it to me, Parker. I appreciate it.
That's why I'm here.
Top control established here for Oxygen. They're going to start opening above the site. This is what makes Lab so difficult to defend. All the control that can be exerted now onto the anchors. Thinking Nade trying to fight back. He knows if he can get a pick onto one of these attackers, the pressure is alleviated somewhat. And that'll actually happen, but it's Rampy to get it. And Slash will answer. Thinking Nade is gone. Nothing flashing through his mind anymore. Oxygen continuing to open up, not exposing themselves to C4. You could tell he's staying on the cement specifically to avoid dying from below while still getting those holes open and applying that pressure.
So both of these teams obviously taking chances, losing something out here. Thinking Nade has been great, but Laxing is obviously laxing, and you can see how many rounds he steals in the very final moments. I guess you could say the same about Thinking Nade too. Neither team in any better shape because of that. And now cover being taken away from Bosco. He doesn't want to engage. He has a way to get right back in, and through the thoroughfare he's going to go. right back into the heart of the bomb site. Damage done to the sledge of Fox A above with a swing and a miss. He'll need to do something now as the rest of his team will look to collapse in the bomb site. And collapsing is SSG as they lose one, but answer back with 2 kills of their own. 3, in fact, with Diffuser inside of the bathroom. No amount of running or sprinting is going to allow Fox A to get there. Skipped leg day one too many times. First half is done. It's a 4-2 scoreline for SSG as they decisively win the first half.
Big one there for SSG, of course. But as I mentioned earlier, 4-2 on Theme Park defense half, that's about what you would expect. I will still give the edge to SSG. Obviously, the scoreline represents that. But at the same time, pinch of salt, everyone. This is still potentially an Oxygen game, so keep that in your head. They'll start on Armory for their first defense. Now, in that last round, I think the major problem for Oxygen was a lack of information. Too much time spent above hoping to pick off the anchors and not enough time gathering up the information on where the anchors actually were. You could tell that when Oxygen went for the execution into the site, they weren't really looking at the right corners. Well played to SSG positioning themselves in safe spots, denying the information to Oxygen to then later take the round. Now, SSG are going to have to struggle on their attack side to get some rounds off of Oxygen's defense in order to avoid that OT, which I feel like is coming. My spidey sense is tingling, and it is suggesting OT here. What do you think, Parker?
Sure.
That seem less enthusiastic.
Yeah, I mean, Michael. It's 4-2 on defense for SSG on Theme Park. I feel like every map that is defender-sided, we have to say the same thing. You know, a 4-2 scoreline is the norm, and it's what we come to expect. Now, 5-1 is definitely doable, but it's a little outside there. 6-0 is unheard of. 3-3 is a loss for the defenders.
It is kind of drastic for each round, isn't it?
They fight tooth and nail for every inch, Michael.
We will fight them on the beaches.
I don't want to call it just yet. I want to wait a round or two just to see how things iron out, because it is very possible that one of these teams are just really, really strong here. This is OXG's map. They are on the favored side now. It is entirely possible that they clean up and SSG takes 1, maybe 2 rounds at absolute most. Yeah, if SSG takes 2 rounds, then overtime is going to happen, and then we'll presumably match the same total that we just saw with SSG on attack. But
I mean, now
I am not the prognosticator in chief. I don't interrupt people all the time at debates. So
whoa.
I am not going to make a judgment call here. I think it's likely that overtime is going to happen, but I refuse to make a prediction.
Okay. That's fine. It has so far been a pretty quiet round here. You can see that Oxygen fell back a little bit further, or a little bit faster, I should say, than SSG was on their defense. It was about 10 seconds less time burnt there for the defense of Oxygen. SSG is just starting to drone it out, just starting to say, okay, it's pretty clear. For those of you who don't know, many teams, not all, but many teams will base their fallback on the roam around the 90-second mark. That's the 1 minute, 30 seconds. And in this round, it was about the 100-second mark for Oxygen. And basically all that means is that's what the team wants out of their roam. That's how much time the team expects to waste with their roam. Half the round? Okay, yeah, that's pretty solid. And, well, mission accomplished just about for Oxygen, just as SSG had success on that on their defensive half. Now, it is a clear into Lab. Now, this is the next hurdle Oxygen has set up for SSG. Lab is a horizontal roam, a little bit different than a vertical. Damage done there to Bosco through Bosco's own hole, and the fallback from Laxing is not cut off by the players inside of Arcade. I'm surprised by that.
Very rare to see somebody get hurt from their own hole, Michael. Fultz gets the very first pick. It's on to Laxing. Very strange, by the way, to see Rampy on the Thatcher, and he's going to frag well onto Vertical. Pins him down inside of Drug. It's now been renamed Storage officially, so that's what we'll call it, because, you know, we need to say no to drugs, Michael, like everybody else would tell you. Still, SSG have managed to take out 2, but they're going to have to pressure the bomb site. Nitro Cell goes off from the hands of the Mutafox. Doesn't manage to get the Selma charges, and there's Fultz to pulverize Fox. It's very nearly a flawless round as teams are trading back and forth. 1 second left. Canadian going for the plant. You need to cover him. He's got it in Rampy's hands. Space Station take their very first attack. They stretch their lead and now have 4 unanswered rounds
in a row.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, because if they were answered, then they wouldn't be. Like they would, like, if they were answered, then they wouldn't be in a row.
Right, right. But
because then if I win 2 rounds and you win 1, I'm not going to be like 3 unanswered because you answered them.
Right. No, but it's just the way you said it. It sounded like you were about you didn't finish, and then I was waiting for you to finish, and then I was like, I'll just finish it for him.
Michael, why would I say that?
I know.
I clearly
redundant.
I clearly finished. Michael, plenty of people.
It was the way that you said it, though. I'm not the words that you said. So I was just a little confused. I don't know. I just had to make it neat, Parker. I needed to, you know?
Esports nominee.
Anyway, so...
I'm only allowed to reference it on this cast, by the way, so I'm getting all of them in.
Yeah, you're going to have to... A whole year of holding that against me for some reason.
I celebrate it!
Okay, sorry. A whole year of celebrating that. Anyway, that round... Let's analyze it for just a second. I think that is our job. Oxygen had a little bit of trouble on the site there. The beautiful thing, though, I think the most important factor of that round was not only the fact that... I want to say it was the fact that SSG was successful in clearing out the horizontal roamers. In fact, they were very successful. I was surprised that Lab and Storage were so bad for Oxygen. That actually ended up being a huge anchor to their defense through the round. And I think it was a big part of the outcome there because SSG was allowed to have not only significant man advantage, but also good control on the split side of Armory when they launched their attack. But the cool thing about the round, aside from just that for SSG, was what SSG did in Split. I love the way that they disrupted Split, denied the rotation between the 2 bomb sites, and then cut up the defenders as they attempted to rotate and gain control of the necessary angles to hold the site. That was really cool stuff to see from SSG. Those smokes were put to great use, and we don't see that every day.
Well summed up, my friend.
Thank you.
Well summed up. One thing that I will continue to keep an eye on, by the way, we saw him in the last round, wasn't really that impactful as the dashing man right now on your screen, none other than Warden. Now, obviously, brought when dealing with operators that tend to be quite utility heavy. A good example of that, when there's a Ying on the board, Warden tends to show up to the party. In this case, Warden might be an uninvited guest because there is no Ying present. So I am going to watch quite intently as to how they want to use this. I'm assuming it's going to be done to counter that same smoke plant that you had talked about, because obviously when Warden is standing completely still, you can see through his smokes as well. Now, Rampy is on secondary hard breach to go along with the Ace, and Nitro Cell's already been used to toss over the top of maintenance, and hopefully a mute jammer is caught from that grenade. There you go. Exothermic charge will open up, and it seems like SSG are going to stay there. However, an impact trick looks to have sealed the deal as the wall has not been opened. Next attempt. No, there it goes. Another one tossed out. Beautifully done, both by none other than Biologic. And they're going to have to expend some Selmas from Space Station to open up that maintenance wall.
Wall at least does get open, but the hole, of course, less ideal than it would have been had the exothermic actually gone off. Great job to Bio, not only wasting that utility, but burning some time in the process. Best use of an impact nade. A double for Fox! Oh no! Rampy and Bosco line up, and it's an easy double. Oh gosh.
Well, there is misfortune, and then there is just total bad luck. And in this case, at least Space Station gets one back, avenging both Rampy and Bosco with the kill from Thinking Nade on the Fox, eh? And the Malusi is targeted inside of Split. Flashbang is going to go out. Canadian knows he needs to look one way. He's got Thinking Nade over his shoulder. Canadian hits his shots. All of a sudden, it's an advantage favoring Space Station, but they're going to have one of their members immobilized. The Malusi will swing from Split over towards Throne. Bio taking out Fultz. So now even more for Thinking Nade as Canadian peels off of the plant. Job done. They're going to have to get the hell out of Dodge. Through the smoke, we see the Malusi of Bio spraying in. Canadian picks up his double. He's taken out. It's setting us up to a 1v1 between Vertical and Thinking Nade. 30 seconds remaining, and Vertical swings to connect. He'll have an easy disable. SSG were 1 kill away from match point, but they're going to need to wait a little while longer as OXG picks up their very first round on defense.
As much as SSG lost that, I still think they're the favored team here now. Based on what we've been seeing from Space Station's attacks, they are really well coordinated. I will say in that last round, I'm surprised by the missing Thatcher. It's good that SSG was able to compensate for the missing Thatcher with those frag grenades. They got the mute jammer off the wall. That's fantastic. But it was still an odd selection there for SSG, and it looks like they're going to continue that forward. That said, still, Oxygen, their defenses have not been as strong as you would hope or as you might expect on Theme Park. And I think that does speak to SSG's slight advantage here in this map. The question then becomes, how will Oxygen fare on SSG's map? Because this is where Oxygen wanted to go. And they are winning rounds, yes, but only just slightly. In that last round, the reason Vertical was able to get such a precise kill is because of a mark from a camera. I'm pretty sure we even heard the camera effect when the mark comes out, the little ping. And he had that exact location of his opponent. And because of that, it was a lot easier to get the final kill and clutch up. At least that's what I think happened there, because the way he pre-aimed, it just makes sense to me. Plus, I swear, I don't know if you heard it, Parker, but I swear I heard the camera, the little mark sound. Anyway, the rest of the round, though, I'd say well played to SSG. I think that they did the best they could with the utility they had available and the time they had available. I will say one thing that does not favor SSG there is that their attack was very linear. They're just pushing in through Throne Wall. That's not a whole lot of adaptability.
I mean, also, how does that round play out if there isn't a two-piece picked up from Foxay? What if he only gets one?
True, yeah.
Because the likelihood of getting two different attackers or defenders, depending on what side of the equation you're on here, with a single burst is extremely unlikely. So you leave even one member of SSG up, and it likely ends up with even greater coverage on the Malusi. I mean, there was a lot of what-ifs on that round. What if we had seen the swing on the Canadian from where the diffuser was being planted before the smoke was tossed out? What if Slash had won that fight? There's a lot of things that we can kind of say what-ifs on, and you can't really govern a team's play by what-ifs, even though we do bring it up because I think it is incredibly important to give perspective to the viewers. But anyway, with that said... Michael, I also wanted to let you know that I received a piece of feedback from none other than our good friend Stuart Ewan, who said that it is a great idea for us to mandate that all teams play their special R6 share skin at least one time.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. What have we done? What have we done? I am sorry to every team. I hope you enjoy it. Rogue will now need to play Tachanka.
Have fun with that. Oh, no. Oh,
that is untimely. And if that is considered an opening pick, by the way, for Space Station, they can snowball that into moving onto match point as Vertical disconnects, for those of you without visual reference.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate there. So because we're so deep into the action phase, the prospect of a restart here on the round is basically zero, and that's just going to be, as you mentioned, a free pick. At least Slash gets it back, though. Canadian gone, so a 4v4. It's exactly where you want to be if you're Oxygen, giving those really kind of heartbreaking circumstances. Thinking Nade will get laxing, though. Biologic returns onto Bosco. The Cafe push is not going to work out for Rampy as he's eliminated by Slash, and a 3v2 ensues. Fultz and Thinking Nade now need to pull double duty. Thinking Nade will be coming up yellow. Fultz has already vaulted in through Arcade window. Now, this is a very dangerous position, especially considering that shield on the Cat balcony. But it'll be eliminated by the Ash charge. Good utility use there from Fultz. Thinking Nade needs to link up with his teammate somehow, somewhere, and get back into this round.
Oh, Fultz just narrowly missed out on what could have been a relatively easy kill over by Office. As you saw the jiggle from Malusi and Foxay, that really could have gone another way. But Vertical has returned to the game, so rehost is unlikely, but 15 seconds left. You'll need to see some action. There's a pick from Fultz, played well onto Slash. He'll be on flank watch to a certain extent as Thinking Nade attempts to plant. They're going to need to be wary of Foxay coming back to the bomb site. Ooh. There he is, damage being done from Fultz, and instead, Bio will swing on up. Fultz knows that he's going to need to pull one out. He does it, but there's another to go, and they're just going to play keep away, even with the man advantage. SSG unable to stitch together a proper round, and Oxygen finds yet another. They're second in a row on defense.
Beautiful stuff there for Oxygen. A large part of that comes down to the early pick from Slash. That slowed down the round. Not only did it slow down the round because you got a kill to answer back from the disconnect, but further, it was Hibana of all operators. Hibana could have opened up the wall in daycare and offered more angles to the attack. Following that early engagement, SSG and Oxygen go toe-to-toe, and Oxygen comes out on top 3-2 in the team fight, which gives Oxygen the advantage, yes, but we're talking about SSG here, and Fultz, no less. Fultz almost clutched it up. Who is, by the way, if you didn't know, I believe it's Fultz and Rampy, if I'm not mistaken, who are nominated for Rookie of the Year, I want to say.
Michael, I'm going to be honest with you, the only one I care about is you.
Wow. Well,
also Valley, sorry, Valley, also Valley.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Also Valley, I care about Valley.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, by the way, he got nominated for Analyst of the Year, which is pretty exciting.
Of the people nominated, I don't think I need to say that for people that are going to watch and be like, you don't care about me. No.
Obviously,
I do care about you, but you know what?
Oh.
I didn't care about you enough to nominate you.
Whoa!
Yes, Rampy and Canadian were nominated for PC Player of the Year, and Fultz was nominated for Rookie of the Year.
Oh, that's what it was.
was nominated for Coach of the Year. Space Station Gaming, along with a wide variety of other orgs that happen to have rosters in Rainbow Six Siege, were all nominated for Esports Orgs of the Year. There was no Event of the Year this year. I wonder why, but...
I wonder what that is.
I wonder what the reason for that is.
Yeah.
But I will say this, SI probably would have been a shoo-in to win. Not that I'm biased or anything, but
it probably would have been pretty sick, yeah, but unfortunate that we didn't get that. Anyway, weird that yeah, never mind, it doesn't matter. I was gonna say weird that Fultz no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm happy for all of them, and I hope you go and vote for each of them and support the scene, of course. But in this round, here and now, we've got a lab defense. Oxygen have been starting to rally back, but it's still very close, and it still has there's this air of strength about SSG, despite them being on the attacking side. Even in that last round, they almost managed to clutch it up thanks to Fultz's efforts, but not quite. Oh yeah, and also we forgot to mention SSG, I think, is also in there.
I said that, Michael, but you weren't listening to me. Yeah, because you only listen to yourself.
I would know, Parker. I was reading the thing, and then I found SSG, and I'm like, oh, look at that. I was reading through it.
Unbelievable.
Please, Parker. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, this has been a relatively slow round. Still discovery work happening from Space Station as we pivot so gracefully off of our ramblings regarding the Esports Awards that were announced earlier today. Don't forget to vote, by the way, whether you're going to vote for Michael, whether you're going to vote for Valley, regardless of who you're voting for, much like our American friends in the upcoming election, just vote.
Kixon Valley 2020.
Register to vote for both the U.S. election and the Esports Awards. Anyway, as we now pivot, you're going to have a nice massage onto Bosco's legs by the Malusi Banshee. He's got IQ right side by side, and they're going to try to storm in together as the Malusi was spotted and will need to be found. But Laxing has already peeled as far off as possible. Down below in barrels with Foxay within reach. The silhouettes give away the positioning of SSG above. You can hear the footsteps as well, and this is very clearly sounds that Laxing will have no problem hearing unless OXG's comms are an utter tire fire. I don't suspect they are. SSG are in very great risk of having to push into the bomb site with limited utility and limited wherewithal as to where these defenders are going to be, and it will be a series of 50-50s that will determine much of this round. I say that while SSG is still chock full of utility. They still have 9 flashbangs. They still have 2 frag grenades. They still have 2 X-Kairos if they want to open things up. So they're going to need to hurry, though, because they don't have the wealth of time whatsoever. Foxay will be the first one to incur the wrath of Space Station. As you can see him continue to move away, Vertical will catch one, and time is unfortunately going to feed 2 different members of Space Station OXG. They only need Thinking Nade. He's not going to die, but it's still a flawless round as Oxygen's 3rd in a row ties these teams up at 5 rounds apiece.
That was some of the most CQC combat that's redundant combat. That was the most CQC siege I've seen in a
What are you talking about?
time.
I go to ATM machines all the time, Michael.
What is it? I don't know that reference. I don't know that one. Anyway, that was some pretty close quarters combat is what I was trying to say. for that round in general. We actually saw an attempted knife there from Fultz. I'm not sure what he was thinking, but I saw his knife arm swing, so whoops, he lost that fight. SSG as a whole, on the push into the site, there were a couple of key factors that were not taken into account. Oxygen's defense was still extended on a roam, which meant that when SSG attempted to push into the main lobby, for example, they're getting flanked. And pushing in through the bathroom is all well and good, but there's still plenty of defenders well entrenched inside of storage. So what are you doing there on that funnel? It's going to be a hard fight to win. And we even saw Oxygen, for example, lose that exact type of engagement on their own attacking round in the first half. So 5-5 now. We're getting ever closer to an even... Well, I mean, we're at an even. We're getting ever closer to an OT is what I was more thinking about. And so far, it's been a good showing from both teams. In that last round, though, Oxygen just patiently waiting it out and doing a great job of surviving in their own site.
This is why I didn't want to make a prediction, Michael, because now OXG have managed to put together a very impressive 3 rounds. In fact, all 4 rounds were quite impressive. Even if they lost Throne Room in their very first defense, they were still able to put up a pretty good fight. And then they very gracefully, I was going to say graciously, but that doesn't make any sense here, very gracefully recovered after losing Vertical in round number 8. And since then, they have been enacting a lot of wrath and a lot of fury onto SSG, and SSG have not been able to execute all that well. They are taking their time, and they are really struggling to determine, the positioning of OXG's defenders. Now, they're going to struggle to find the positioning of that Nitro Cell, but Bosco finds it very close, a little too close for comfort. He loses 80 HP in the process, so at least you managed to get him back up. That could have been a crucial blow to Space Station. That's 40 seconds into the round, and already you're going to find SSG having to battle harm.
That's all. Yeah, crucial blow it is not, but darn close with only 20 HP. That basically loses you all future fights unless you get a headshot. Now, luckily for Bosco, he is playing Sledge, so he's going to be able to open up above, and that's a lot of utility he can still influence the round with. It's great for him. Rampy will eat some damage on the balcony, trying to take fights with the roamers upstairs. No damage on Oxygen yet, so still decisive advantage for the defense. The roam is continuing to play upstairs, by the way. They're not falling back as early as I think I would expect, and that changes a whole lot of this about this clear dynamic. Bad peek there from Fultz, and another double, a triple even for Foxy! Oh boy! SSG gets absolutely dumpstered. And now a 5v2. Oxygen will almost certainly push this onto match point.
So out of nowhere, they have taken an absolute command of this map, and they are ever closer to a lead, very similar to what we saw out of the matchup on Monday, Michael. OXG have only led truly for 2 rounds. That was it, rounds 1 and 3. The remainder of SSG are going to have to fight their way through the 5 men, make it 4 men of Oxygen, and hopefully they'll be able to catch their breath. Canadian and Thinking Nate as a duo always like to play together when they're pulling off these executes. Canadian relies on Thinking Nate on that anti-flank to protect him while he goes for that defuse plant, but you're not quite there yet. 40 seconds left, and an execute is unthinkable at this point as you're still trying to tussle with the off-site members of Oxygen. First one up is going to be the Maestro. 2 flashes get tossed in. Canadian gets one, Thinking Nate another, and just like that, this round is very winnable. 30 seconds left, plenty of time for Space Station to be able to pull this one off. They're going to be going in blind, though, and they'll have to march through Split. A Nitro Cell in hand from Slash could stop this in its tracks. Vertical doing his best. Canadian dodges the Nitro Cell. He'll engage with Slash. He wins it. He'll need to go for the plant with 10 seconds left. He's at 50 HP. Vertical will need to spring into action. He's playing by the split door. Canadian will get the plant down, no problem. Vertical wasting a bunch of time. The pop-up from the Thermite. Where will it be? The Jaeger hot on his heels. It'll be once again a game of chicken behind this throne as they look to find each other. Bullets from Canadian will rattle away. Vertical pacing around the B-bomb now. He'll have to head into the other bomb site. He wins it yet again. What a shot from Vertical. It'll be another clutch defuse for him. And with it, as you said, it'll be match point for Oxygen.
Beautiful clutch there for Vertical, but we really gotta say, the star is Foxy. What a triple upstairs. Here it is again for those of you who missed it. 2 for 1 on the first peak and the follow-up to boot. Oh boy. Oxygen Got to be so happy about that. Foxay is he is making a name for himself as an SMG 11 master in this map.
Foxay in particular is providing great value. One of the biggest points of criticism towards this Oxygen team has always been the inconsistency of their superstar players. Because they let Laxing go off on his own, they can often live or die off of whether he is able to make a play. In this map, they haven't really needed him to make that many plays yet. He's actually been quite quiet in regards to impact on most of these rounds. Foxay has been absolutely dynamite, whether it's been on roam, whether it's been on gadget work, whether it's been on defense or attack, and the rest of the team have followed suit. Now, Foxay obviously has broken double digits alongside Vertical, who's had some very clutch and important rounds. But let's not underrate the contributions of Slash. He and Canadian as the two hard-baked support players on both sides. Bio obviously playing support as well, but he's been much quieter. Both Canadian and Slash have showed up huge. Slash has done well on both sides of the field, and he is excelling in his role. And OXG overall, it's a team effort. Yeah, you can very easily live with a quieter matchup from Laxing when you see Vertical and Foxay making the plays they are. And a lot of these plays are not relying on their teammates. These are just things that they are taking into their own hands. They are allowing their own intuition, their own game sense, their own mechanical skill to guide them. There's a reason why these guys are pros. And for Oxygen and Foxay in particular, there's a reason why Foxay has been in this scene as long as he has on top teams.
You know, Foxay originally, if I'm not mistaken, started out on console, actually, and made the transfer over when the console Pro League used to be a thing, as many other players did. And I think it was surprising to a lot of people when that transfer came, how successful those players who made the move would actually be on PC. And that was such a long time ago. We don't really talk much about console anymore. You know, it's so far in Siege's history, but it's something that I think a lot of people who are watching these days who maybe aren't familiar with the olden times of Siege didn't even know about a lot of these players, like Laxing, like Foxay. That transfer over, it's a different move. It's a different even type of person. When a lot of the console bros are very different than the PC bros, and you see them play at the same level in top level, or well, in top Siege. So yeah, it's been an interesting one for interesting career, I guess you could say, for everybody on Oxygen and SSG alike, actually.
A bomb has been located.
Talk about Xbox Pros taking over. Sorry, as I need to catch I had a frog in my throat there.
What?
The talk of Xbox Pros taking over has been a long one, Michael, and I know that a lot of these players have made their way through that system, and it really is I think a great measurement of their ability when they are capable of going pro on two systems. So
was it like 4 years ago when that transfer happened, something like that?
Yeah, it was actually before I started casting.
Yeah, I want to say it was about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago.
It was 2017. It was the spring of 2017, right after SI.
Yeah, more like 3.
We can reflect on that in the break, but here we have SSG trying to tie things up. They find 2 kills with 1 from OXG, make that a third for Fultz as he gets kill number 2. SSG in a 4v2 with the bomb site above, but there's a single member of OXG down below. No nitro cell, though, for Biologic. So you might think that the mute's down there, and you might be wary of that positioning, but he's not going to be able to do too much unless they ping away. 30 seconds to go. Canadian pulling off the plant. Foxay is where the hopes will rest for the OXG faithful as they look for a retake, but Diffuser goes down successfully, and then so does Foxay, but he goes down a bit unsuccessfully. So too does Biologic. So despite how close it was for Oxygen fans, well, there's still 3 more rounds to go. 2 at absolute minimum, as it's a tie game now for Spacestation as they manage to win their first round in almost 20 minutes.
So, of course, this puts us on overtime. Now, for those of you who do not know, the team that picks the map does not pick the side. It's their opponents that get to pick the side. So Oxygen picked Theme Park. They wanted to go here, and which means SSG decided to be on attack for OT, if I'm not crazy. And that's weird, for sure. It has been a defender-sided Theme Park, to be clear, as is standard with Theme Park. But Space Station, I guess, preferred to be on the attacking side. So here we go. A little bit weird.
This is why I'm not.
What?
This is why I don't make predictions.
Well, I made this prediction.
Also because Hap beats me in the predictions, and then Flynn beat me the next year, and that's just a recipe for retirement right there, if I'm being honest with you. Siege GG predictions, I think I finished second or third. The first year, Hap finished first, and then the second one, I think I finished second to Flynn, and I was just... I couldn't imagine a worse person to lose to than Flynn, you know?
I think that predicting...
Unbelievable.
I think that predicting matches is just... it's random. The main reason is you can't really tell what the amount of work that either team has put into a match prior to
Michael,
the actual
I lost
match
to Flynn.
commencing. Yes, I know, Parker. It's terrible, and
Hap!
You should feel bad about it. But at the same time, yeah, predicting a match outcome before actually seeing any of the gameplay is just random, and you might get lucky, you might not. But predicting, I think, like for me, like if I'm gonna predict a match, I like to do it in the middle when I've seen a little bit of the gameplay. And off that first half, I think again, that's why I said I expected OT. Is based on what we were seeing from both of these squads. You know, in this moment. What is Vertical shooting through a drone hole? He just shot Fultz through a drone hole that I didn't even know existed. That must have been it. What was that? Ooh. Yeah, it was a drone hole. I didn't even know that was there. What an angle from Vert. And
See, my thing with predictions, Michael, is that I'm playing both sides so that I always come out on top.
Yeah,
that's just how it works.
You gotta play the game.
Yeah.
Or what's the...
There have been... this is actually
word.
kind of rare to see somebody getting shot through a drone hole, because a lot of the outside drone holes have been blocked off specifically so you can't cheese like that. Obviously, I'd imagine a lot of that is to help newer players who are... Well, they'd be awfully frustrated getting their shins whacked away at, or their ankles, by somebody a bit more experienced with a bit more map knowledge. That is the hardest, really the hardest part for beginners of this game, is you're going to get farmed like a bot until you know the maps. So...
Right. It is punishing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's the joy of actually getting to the end and learning how to play, and how to play with your teammates especially. You know, a lot of people ask, what's the difference between highest level of ranked, for example, and competitive play? Well, quite simply, it's teamwork.
It's the team skins, actually. Canadian manages to dodge that nitro cell. Might have even been shot by Rampy. And one thing, as we now look at the halfway mark of the very first round of overtime, that OXG was mighty fine at before, was impacting the exothermic charge on this barrel's wall. As you can see, job done by Canadian. Still one exothermic charge in his hand, and all three Selmas for a Rampy as well. Fox A continuing his hot streak. He's going to find kill number 12, but then be buried with Fultz. Together, both of them, a dozen kills. 3 members of SSG have broken double digits now. They're going to need to continue to add to that tally if they want a chance at being able to win this map. It is OXG's map, just to give you where the stakes are at and a better understanding of how close this should be. Air jab goes off as we hit the 40-second mark, and lording above the attackers is none other than Vertical. He's going to make his way through Cash, and he'll have prime opportunity to head down Dragon. He'll have to hurry, though, because Laxing has been punished for his transgressions, and Bio has been too. So if Vertical can't get back to the site, it'll set Slash up into a 1v4. But he's going to hold a tight angle, leading from barrels, takes out Bosco, second one next in line, pinging away. The AUG can only do so much damage as Canadian looks to go for the plant. But Nitro Cell in hand for Slash. He's going to have to unsheath it. It gets tossed out. It connects on to Canadian. 10 seconds left. Trouble in the water for SSG as Vertical from above punishes Thinking Nade, leaving Rampy suddenly to toil inside of the bomb site with no time and no diffuser. No hope whatsoever. Oxygen regains the lead, and they'll sit on match point again.
A massive round there for Oxygen, and Slash in particular. The C4 coming from the Forge side of the bomb site, denying the plant just inside of Cubby, where Canadian thought he was safe. As many of you might have noticed, the marks were coming out. There was clearly some information tool in the site there for the defense, as they called out the plant attempt of Canadian in that Cubby for Slash. Beautiful stuff. Good teamwork there for Oxygen, as we were making note of in the preamble to the round. Now, we've got SSG up against the wall, but they get to defend. So it's not all over yet for them. Don't get too stressed out. Also, keep in mind, this is Oxygen's map, as Parker mentioned. So, Oxygen looking solid there on that defense. It almost went the way of SSG, though. Things were a little bit sketchy as SSG got the picks on the anchors in the site. It seemed as if SSG was going to be able to just brute force, muscle their way into the site, take control, get the diffuser down, and hold that post plant, but not so. Everything worked out perfectly for Oxygen, and I have to say, it mostly comes down to how slow SSG was on the execution. There was a little bit of hesitation, and that tiny ounce of hesitation allowed for the Jaeger to eventually get to top Dragon. That's possibly the most crucial moment there in the round, is that SSG did not commit fully to their execute because they didn't know they were only dealing with one single anchor.
5 seconds left before insertion.
So, once again, do or die for Space Station. They know this. They were on the razor's edge just 2 rounds prior, and they still managed to pull it off. Both of these teams have shown they are quite evenly matched on this map, which could be bad for OXG because this is their map. But to be fair and balanced, Michael, it's also a strong map for Space Station and can show that maybe both of these teams are going to be quite competitive over all 3 maps. That would mean that we would get a clubhouse tiebreaker. Cafe is up next, no matter what. And obviously, we're not going to write the obituary of either of these teams here on Theme Park. It has been a thrilling ride, but it's not over quite yet. And there's still plenty of time for SSG and their legion of fans to watch this team of astronauts, this interplanetary team, whatever you want to call them, to be able to pull off the win here.
What if they were
They're going to
aliens?
have to
That'd be
attack
cooler.
downstairs, though, and that's what their focus is going to be on as they start on that 2nd floor.
Would explain how good they are at the game if they were aliens.
Yeah, they're... Michael, would you say that they're
otherworldly?
out of this world?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Did I
We
steal it?
rehearsed this, Michael!
I'm sorry. They're both good. I don't think anyone's going to complain. Rampy trying to hold upstairs. He's on the delay factor with Thinking Nade. You can see the transition there. SSG was actually extended on the east side of the top floor, but about 1:45, they fell back to the west side of the top floor. That's because on the west side, they have the retreat angles. Rampy will use the vaults into bottom arcade. Thinking Nade will use the staircase, and there you go. As we've seen on every single bottom floor defense, it seems like so far from both teams, SSG will delay upstairs, fall back at the 90-second mark, and play either a horizontal roam, as you see Rampy doing right now, or falling back to site.
7th time through 14 rounds that we've seen Throne Room be defended / attacked. And honestly, it looks pretty good for the defense every time. Only 1 attacking round victory so far on this site. It came from SSG at their first crack at it all the way back in the 7th round. So if you're Oxygen, you're going to have to fight against the trend line and the current of this map. SSG will just hang on. There goes the barrels wall as it's time for action here on OXG's side with 30 seconds left. 1/6 of the round, 20-second meta as you want to call it. Well, you still got 10 seconds to be able to pull it off. There goes a smoke as Fox 8 looks to try to push in from barrels. Crossfire being established towards the back of Throne to try and shove the SSG players off as far back as they can. Deep into the bomb site you go. But here's the problem for OXG. There's an Alda right at the doorway, and both Bio and Fox are going to take some damage. Rampy gets the very first pick. An easy frag for Laxing, followed up with one from Fox, a Bosco of his own. It's an absolute mess. Everybody's dying, but you're going to need to see SSG get that diffuser down, and they won't do it. They protect the bombs. OXG need to get the diffuser down. There was so much action, my brain flew out of my skull, Michael, and I switched the sides up, but regardless, we're going to round 15.
Brain did a do-si-do, and I don't think anyone's really going to mind, but what you're absolutely right about there, Parker, right about there. See, now it's my brain, Parker. It was a mess. Let's get this out of there. It was a complete and utter mess. What happened was Oxygen set up on the execution. It was supposed to be through Dragon Door and through the breach. What ended up happening, though, was that run out from the Maestro actually detonated an air jab, and I believe it threw not only the Maestro flying, but also the attacker who was going to push through Dragon flying. This means that it's a one-prong attack, and you've got everyone on attack trying to funnel themselves through the breach, over by Throne, into behind Throne, but at that same time, SSG still hasn't been dislodged from Throne, and the gas canisters are starting to fly in now. The smokes aren't doing anything. The gas canisters are nullifying them, making it impossible for the attack to make their push in. It's an absolute mess. And, well, in messes, generally speaking, the ones being initiated on defense are the ones who have the advantage because they will have a slight bit more control over that situation, as they do not need to force their participation in the mess, but instead can linger back and wait for the attack to all just die in that mess. And that's exactly what we saw. So well done to SSG for using their utility well, positioning themselves well, and just taking the win as it was handed to them. As you mentioned, Parker, that 20-second meta really hurting Oxygen in that round. Now, all that said, we move on to the final round of Theme Park. Oxygen will defend lab and storage. This is a difficult site to defend, but it has been fair to both teams so far through this map.
It seems like we are destined to go the distance between these teams, which is what happens when there's a lot on the line and you winnow down the top teams in the region. There was some doubt about this OXG squad. I always love seeing that, by the way. I always pause to watch the explosion of the hatch debris whenever a sledge hits it.
It's kind of crazy.
There was a lot of chatter and much discussion, spirited discussion, of course, because Twitter doesn't know anything else, about the top 4 teams heading into the US division. There were people, myself included, who thought that there was a very real possibility that the top 4 could include the Sonics. After the way that E-United has played recently, I think some people have now started to think that E-United could make a claim for top 4. I think that's a bit too premature, just as it was with the Sonics when I thought that. OXG are shutting a lot of people up right now. So we will see how close they can keep it on Cafe, because the story that we have right now here on Map 1 is a very close affair, but this could be all that OXG has in the tank. They could utterly fall apart on Cafe, and if Clubhouse is needed, they could implode there as well. Now, I don't think that's likely to happen, but I've been wrong before, and I will be wrong again.
Yeah, me too. Fall back here. How many times have we seen this now? I mean, this is just like
exact same setup.
Every single round. It's the same clear. It's the same force back. It's the same retreat angles. It's all the same. The same times. Maybe 10 or seconds, give or take, difference in some of these rounds. Yeah, and, well, it's a different site, but it doesn't matter. It's the same strategy. So, 1 minute left for the attack now to open from above. The way that this is playing out right now is giving me flashbacks to every other round where this was the site that was defended, and that suggests that Oxygen is going to take this round and thus the map. SSG is definitely going to need to be the team that works a miracle here, because with the way that it's all shaken up right this second, Oxygen has a distinct advantage. They've got the time, they've got the manpower even, which is an advantage to the defense, and they've got the positioning. Now they need but wait for the last 25 seconds.
And that smoke is going to go into the window of bathroom as the shield being found as a home for Slash next to the contraband, we'll call it. He's going to continue to watch that bathroom with 15 seconds left. He'll be able to toss away. Great shot from vertical. Make that 2. He takes out Bosco and Canadian, and that might be it for SSG. Fox A1-2 and looking for another as he turns to pivot. He'll collect it. Laxing gets it a flawless round. That's a statement. That's a statement from Oxygen as they take map number 1. Maybe a bit too close for comfort, but they end up pulling it off in the end by a score of 8-7.
Beautiful stuff there for Oxygen, taking a map number 1.